Tom Fondle.
Welcome to Black Guy White Movie with your host, Maxwell Michael Towson.
Let's see here. All right, and now we're back. So this week we have guests. So how do you want to do this? You want to be director, writer, producer? Like, how many things do you want to...
I'm all those things. I would say I'm mainly a director, but I also write and produce.
Okay, so mainly director, writer, and producer, Lauren Lillie, who I call Ponytail Lillie. So how are you doing today, Lauren?
I'm good. How are you?
I guess I'm good. I'm missing football right now, even though my Cowboys suck, so it doesn't matter. But who cares, really? I guess I'm supposed to be standing with Kaepernick, technically, so I'm not even supposed to be watching.
Or kneeling with Kaepernick.
You can kneel all day. I don't know how that would work. But what are you up to?
I'm having a chill Sunday. I'm going to go to the Dodger game later, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Oh, you got playoff tickets. Where are you going to be sitting?
Yeah. Our next door neighbor works for the Dodgers, so I don't know where exactly we're sitting, but we're going with my neighbor, which is pretty dope.
What kind of charmed life do you live that you're just like, my next door neighbor just works for them. We're just going to have playoff tickets. No big deal. Biggest game probably the Dodgers will have this season. No big deal.
We have the best new neighbors. They just moved in a few months ago, and it's a husband and wife. And the wife also really loves my cat. So when I go out of town, she said that she's happy to come by and feed my cat and hang out with him. So it's just the best combo. Dodger game, feed my cat.
I thought your cat was a terror. Like, I thought your cat only liked you.
He likes people who feed him.
Oh, got you. Okay.
Yeah.
So has he warmed up to Jake yet?
He's warmed up to Jake a bit. He will never be the same around Jake as he is around me, but a little bit of improvement.
Okay. After years, it's just a warming. Like, he's okay.
Yeah. I mean, he's very sweet. He's very dumb, but it's very convenient in a lot of ways that he's as dumb as he is. Because, for instance, he has not figured out that he could wake me up early in the morning and meow or harass me for food, which most cats do. But he'll just come up to me in the morning and, like, snuggle against me and purr. I'm like, oh, this is nice.
Maybe he just wants to be next to you instead of trying to wake you up or... Like, because I've seen cats just scratch somebody awake like, hey, I'm hungry, let's go.
He came up one morning, I was sleeping, and Jake saw him come up and, like, sniff at me, saw that I was asleep, and then he went away of like, oh, she's not awake yet, so I can't be fed yet.
So he's polite. I don't see what's wrong with a polite cat.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. I'm not complaining.
He's a good person. But yeah,
so
pretty much... How did you start getting into directing, writing, producing? Like, what was your start? What kind of inspired you to even get into Hollywood?
I've always been really obsessed with movies. So even when I was a really little kid in elementary school, I knew that I wanted to do something with entertainment and movies. For a while when I was little, I thought that I wanted to be an actress, which I think is pretty natural. Like, as a kid, you think like, oh, I love movies. The main people that you know are the actors who are in movies. So I did a lot of theater and like some various like acting programs when I was younger. And in one of the acting programs, they gave us an assignment where we had to direct a scene. And the scene that I directed was terrible, like really, really bad.
What was the scene? Like, what was it?
Well, it was for a Shakespeare program, and we had to pick a sonnet, and then we had to write a scene where that sonnet would somehow be incorporated into the scene. And they partnered you up with different people in the program. And I had on my team this girl who was like notoriously the most difficult person to work with in the whole program.
Okay.
She would threaten to beat people up. Like, she was constantly creating drama.
And what age is this again? Like, how old are you?
I was about like 13.
So it's a 13-year-old Debo that's just going around beating people up. Okay.
Yeah. And she had a lot of very strong creative opinions about the scene. And one of them was that she really wanted that. Do you remember that Casey and JoJo song?
All My Life? Are we going with?
Yeah.
Okay.
She really wanted that song to play in the scene as like a serious love song. And she had been so difficult that when it got to that, I was like, okay, whatever. We can play the Casey and JoJo song if it means that much to you.
So you actually
So,
let her
like,
play this song?
I let her play the song, and then there was like, this strong dramatic reading of a Shakespearean sonnet. It was horrible. I wish I had a video of it because it must have been hilarious. But the teacher of the class came up to me afterward and told me that I should consider looking into directing because he thought that I really had a knack for it. And I was like, are you serious? Like, my scene was terrible. Like, did you see that? And he was like, well, but I saw how you worked with your team, and I really thought that you were really great about eliciting performances from people and, managing the politics of it, et cetera, et cetera. So that kind of put it in my head. And then I ended up working a bit with the theater director at my high school. And then I was actually the first student at my high school to direct a full-length play my senior year before I graduated.
Really? So you were have they kept up with that since?
I don't know. Usually they would give students the opportunity to direct one act, but I got to direct a full play. So that was pretty cool.
Okay, so pretty much so it's a teacher that kind of cultivated that in you to say, hey, maybe you should start directing or at least thinking about it.
Yeah, and once this teacher put the idea in my head, I was like, oh, actually, even as an actor, I'm like looking around at the blocking and considering the larger picture. I can't speak. That might be a difficulty for this.
And the end of your acting career, but okay.
Yeah, good that I'm behind the camera. But yeah, so once I was in high school, then I knew that I wanted to go into directing. And when I went to college, I was specifically looking at programs where I'd be able to study film and directing in undergrad.
Okay, so so this girl pretty much made you add in this song, but the Lauren I've seen on set, like Ponytail Lillie, would not allow this. So when did Ponytail Lillie decide to come in where it's like, no, this is my set, move the fuck out of the way and listen to me now?
Well, you build up more confidence as you go, right?
Okay.
You haven't explained the Ponytail Lillie yet.
Well, no, I was going to explain it. So pretty much, it was my first time seeing Lauren on, what was it, Cycle 3, I think?
Yeah, Cycle 3.
Okay, so we went to AFI Conservatory together, and the way the program is that you have to do what they call cycle films, where you break up into teams depending on your discipline, and everyone comes together. You make a film. What was it, like every couple of months? Like it just like every 2 months or what?
Yeah,
was it?
every few months. We did 3 in the first year.
Right. So every few months you did a cycle film, and I went to work on her Cycle 3 because you had to come work on the film as well as like a PA or a grip or whatever you could do. As writers, all we could do is be PAs because we had no other
You
skill.
held the boom, didn't you?
Oh yeah, I was a
remember
boom
you
guy.
holding
I
the
was
boom.
always on the boom because it's a big black guy. They're like, you can hold this boom. Go ahead and get that boom. Get that boom working.
It takes some strength to hold up that boom all day.
Oh yeah, it's craziness. Like especially, it's a lot of. I felt like every scene that I had to do the boom, it was always the tightest shot or like the widest shot possible. So you had to hold the boom very steady or it would just drop into everything. That was always my life. But pretty much on Lauren's set, like I've never seen her work a set, and usually her hair is down, it's flowing, she's calm. On this set, she snatched back this ponytail and was not fucking, like not one smile, not one joke. It was get in your fucking position and shoot it. Let's go. I think it was you and Soren, right? Was it?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, it was Soren.
You guys would
Love
just
Soren.
go. You guys would just go off into the corner and talk, and then you would come back like, "Okay, we're shooting now." And it's like, what the fuck is? It was scary. It was scary, but it was also great to see.
I think that since then I have learned how to be a little bit more relaxed and have a bit more of a sense of humor on set. But that does make me think of with a movie that I produced before AFI. one of the people working on the production told me that they were like, Lauren, some of the crew members are intimidated to come up and ask you questions because it always looks like you're busy. It looks like you're really focused on something. And I was like, good. I am busy. I am focused on something. So if they don't really need to interrupt me with their question and they can figure it out some other way, I'm glad that they're not interrupting me with their question.
I mean, that's kind of bullshit. Whoever told you that, like, that's kind of like, what?
Yeah. I was like, yeah, I'm busy. We're making a small indie feature. I'm doing the job of 7 different people. So
yeah, you obviously didn't want anything if you didn't think you could stop someone from doing something and just say, hey, I need whatever. Like, it's not that important.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a little wild. But no, so why did you feel like that you had to tone it down? Because you said now you're a little more jovial on set than you were, well, at least for Cycle 3 anyway.
Well, I think that you also, as a director, you really set the tone for the set. And you do want people to also feel happy and comfortable and, all of that. Did you hear a bing on the recording? Hopefully not. I got a text message.
Probably. I don't know. It hears everything, but then I can always just edit it out, so it doesn't matter. Also, sometimes I just leave shit in. Like, who cares?
Okay. But yeah, I still take it very seriously. The ponytail is still definitely in. Okay. I've just dialed it back, one notch on the knob.
Okay. Honestly, of course you gave a good reason why you should, but I didn't think so. Like, I thought your set ran very efficiently. Like, it was a good short. Like, I don't see a problem with it. Like, if people don't feel that you're approachable, that's on them. Like,
yeah. I have no problem with that. I'm happy if people are intimidated to come up and ask me some stupid question. That's fine.
But also with that, like you said, that the director kind of sets the tone for the the set. I think that's good. That's a good thing to kind of have a workman-like attitude to things. I mean, people are still going to be themselves and have fun, but you don't need someone joking all the time. Like, you don't need a me on set all the time. Like, no, like.
Well, and you always have a lot of work to get done in the day, so there needs to be a certain amount of precision and focus.
Yeah, they'll definitely get it together. So, like, when you said you were picking colleges, you were definitely looking for programs that had some type of film and filmmaking. So where did you end up going to school, and what was that experience like?
Well, so it's interesting that since I was looking at schools, I feel like at the time there weren't that many schools that offered a film major. Since then, there have been a lot more schools that have introduced film programs. But I was debating between going to a more specialized film program for undergrad, like NYU or USC, or going to more of a broader liberal arts education. And I ended up deciding to go for a broader liberal arts education because I still wanted to have the opportunity to take philosophy classes and literature classes in a way that more specialized programs wouldn't have allowed me to do.
Got you. So how did you come about choosing AFI then once you wanted to do grad school, or you just wanted that specialization for graduate school?
Yeah, so after I finished undergrad, I was working as a producer's assistant and I was working as a director's assistant. And I got to work for Jonathan Demme, which was pretty cool.
Okay.
And I was working for a while assisting and producing, but I felt like I needed to make a transition into working as a director. And I felt like one of the potentially best ways for me to do that would be to do a specialized program like AFI, where I could meet a lot of people who are at a similar phase in their careers that I was at. I would have the opportunity to do a lot of work, to work on my craft, to build up my reel. And then it would also be a way of transitioning away from the work that I had been doing into trying to specifically work on directing.
Gotcha. And was like being a producer's assistant and director's assistant, like what's the differences in those two titles?
When I was working as a producer's assistant, I was largely in the office, managing their schedules and calls and helping them, keep up on everything that they needed to do in terms of budgets and contracts and that kind of thing. So that was really helpful because I definitely learned a lot of the who's who in the industry because I needed to know who everybody calling was. When I was first on the job, I remember one of my first mistakes was that my boss had one contact who was a friend of his, who was some sort of film producer, and his first name was Lawrence. And then at the same time that this friend of his, Lawrence, called, we also got a call from Lawrence Bender's office. Lawrence Bender is a much bigger deal,
right, than his friend Lawrence.
As Pulp Fiction, than this other guy who I don't even really remember who this guy was. And I remember having the moment of like, which call do I put through? And I took a message from Lawrence Bender's office, and my boss like really railed into me. That he was like, no. I was like, oh, okay, I need to really focus on knowing who exactly all of these. So it was good. It made me learn a lot about especially because I was in New York at the time. So I learned a lot about the who's who of everybody who works in indie film in New York. But then when I left that job, the producer that I was working for asked me what I was looking for in my next job. And I said that I specifically wanted to work for a director because I want to work as a director. And he was like, well, who are some of your favorite directors? Who would you want to work for? And the first person that I mentioned was Jonathan Demme. And he was like, oh, I know him. Let me send him an email. And
wow.
Demme emailed him back. And I think this was I remember I went and interviewed with Demme on a Thursday. And then Monday, I was at his office working for him. It was like a really fast transition.
What is this life, Lauren?
just happens. Believe me, it's not all charmed.
And so, because you said you were in New York working kind of the indie film market, and since AFI is out in Los Angeles, so that's more big studios. I mean, it's also some indie stuff as well, but are there different vibes between working in New York and then coming out to LA?
Totally. And part of why I specifically wanted to go to AFI was because I thought that work-wise it made sense for me to transition from the New York film scene to the LA film scene. New York has a lot of great work happening, but it is obviously a much more limited market than
right.
LA is. And I figured that if I was going to make the transition, going through grad school and meeting a ton of people would be a good way to do that. So I had debated between USC and AFI. Not to brag, I got into both.
Okay.
And I specifically decided that I wanted to go to AFI because I liked the specialization of the program. I liked that I wasn't going to have to apply to direct projects like I would have had to at USC.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. That would be a lot different.
Yeah. And AFI is also shorter than USC's program as well.
Oh, how long is the USC program?
I think I could be wrong. I think it's a 4-year program.
For grad school? Goodness.
3 or 4, I think. Yeah, it's definitely longer than 2, which is AFI.
Gotcha. Okay. And so, coming out of AFI, you directed the film "Paying for It," which was your short film, so your thesis. What was that experience like? And then what has come from that since you, after directing that film?
Working on Paying for It was a really great experience. I was super happy with the whole team of everybody that I got to work with. My producer and cinematographer, production designer, editor, all of that was really amazing. And the 2 actresses that I ended up casting in the 2 lead roles, I am still really close friends with them. We meet up on a pretty regular basis for breakfast, and they both have kids now, and I've met their kids, and I went to one of their weddings and everything. Okay. So that's really nice that now we're really close friends all these years later, and they're transitioning on into different phases of their careers. But yeah, I was really happy with having that opportunity through AFI to use all the resources that we got for that film was incredible. I mean, it was definitely a much more involved and professional production than you're usually able to do for a short film that you're putting together on your own. And we submitted to a bunch of festivals. We went to the Austin Film Festival, which was great. And definitely have gotten a good response from everybody that I've been able to show it to as a sample of my work, which is basically what you're looking for with a short like that.
Gotcha. And when you go to these festivals, like what is that like? Are there people interested in you as a director, so they're trying to give you new things to work on, or is it more like people are just giving you kudos for having such a great short film?
Well, it kind of depends on the festival.
Okay.
I feel like with most festivals, you're just going to be getting kudos from people and getting responses from the audience or takes on the film, which is great. And then if you're able to take a film to a more major film festival, then maybe you'd actually have people approaching you for directing work. But I think that's much more the rarity, especially with a short. But sometimes it does happen.
Gotcha. Okay. And so since then, like I've read like some of your work since then, have you been really into pole dancing? Like that's been one of your main well, is it even just a hobby anymore? Like,
Well, it's funny. It's something that I would have never guessed that I would have gotten into. If you went back and told me a decade ago that I would have gotten really into pole dancing, I would have been like, what are you talking about? But it was my thesis film at AFI that there's a striptease, but people listening probably don't, that there's a striptease sequence in the film. And as I was prepping for the shoot, I had a moment of thinking, oh, well, what if the actress playing that part asks me, like, what specifically to do choreography-wise in the scene? I don't really know what moves she should do or any of that. So I bought a Groupon to an intro to pole dancing class, honestly just thinking that maybe this would give me a few ideas of moves that she could do in this one sequence. And when I went to this intro to pole dancing class, the class itself was like really feminist and empowering. And I remember driving home from that class just feeling like a total rock star and like blasting music in my car. And I was like, I don't know what this is, but I feel awesome right now. So I went back with the actress who played that part and we did a private class to help like choreograph a bit of that sequence, which I'm so glad that I did. That was tremendously helpful. And then after I shot paying for it, I went back to that studio and I started taking classes just because I was intrigued of like, oh, what's this about? And then once I got more involved in learning more about the pole dancing world, I remember actually telling one of our professors from AFI that I had now gotten into pole dancing. And he was like, Lauren, you have to make a movie. Like, I know. I have to make a movie about this whole fascinating, incredible, complex world. So that's what I'm working on doing now.
Gotcha. And so, like, can you give us anything about the movie, or you just kind of want to keep that under wraps?
I can tell you a bit about it. So the movie's a dramedy, and it's a comeback story set in the world of competitive pole dancing. But it's also largely about the complexities of the pole dancing world, that there's these different camps. Like there's competitive pole dancing, which is like acrobatics, like Cirque du Soleil kind of crazy tricks. And then there's also the like pole fitness world, which I think more and more people know about these days, of like classes at gyms and soccer moms taking pole classes just for fun, that kind of thing. And then also within the script, I felt like we needed to have a character who works in a strip club to show like, this is where pole dancing comes from. This is what most people, when they hear pole dancing, they still think of somebody stripping in a club. So showing those different worlds and what the differences between those worlds mean.
Okay, gotcha. And like, what has it been to, like, what did you need to develop that story? Or did it mostly come from your experiences pole dancing, or did you have to follow some people that are in your classes? Like, what was the impetus for all of that?
I think that the main challenge with developing the story was that I feel like there's 100 different movies that you could set in the pole dancing world that would be interesting stories. I feel like there's so many different women that I've met who have great stories that would be worth telling. So it took me a while to figure out like, okay, well, there's all of these different, for at the beginning, I was thinking of writing it as an ensemble piece with like having, maybe 5 or 6 characters that you told their different stories throughout the films, or not films, through the film. But so I think the most challenging part was just narrowing in on, okay, this is the one story that I'm going to tell.
Gotcha. Okay. And what has been like the feedback so far as you've been working on? I'm sure you're showing like family and friends the script and everything. So what has been the feedback on everything so far?
The feedback's been good. We have a casting director that we're working with now, and trying to see who we can attach to play the lead role. And our casting director said that as she's made calls and talked to agents and everything about it, that it's been an incredibly easy pitch, that people have been really receptive to it and they've been enjoying the script and everything. So that's great. But, we're still at the beginning stages of actually getting the movie made and getting people attached and all that. But hey, I'll take it that, getting a good reception out of the gate is certainly helpful.
Yeah, that's always great. Like who would be your number one pick if you had to? Can you even do that? I don't know. I don't want to like you get somebody and then they're like, I wasn't your favorite.
Considering that I'm in the process of casting right now, I don't know if I should answer that question.
I guess better question. Like if you had a character in mind, like when you were when you were writing everything, like is there like a certain character, a well-known character in mind that you might have used as inspiration or anything, or you just kind of went off your own experiences with it?
It's interesting. A few people have asked me that of like, oh, well, if you could cast anyone, some
Right.
huge A-list actor, who would you cast? And I think I specifically with the script was trying not to picture a specific actress in it. So I think that's actually been helpful in terms of casting, that I'm not super married to like, oh, it needs to be a, Natalie Portman type. That to me, I just picture who this character is, and I haven't yet narrowed in on, oh, it's like so-and-so or so-and-so. There's definitely aspects that I'll admit, there's definitely aspects of me in the character.
Okay.
So I found it kind of funny when I showed my lookbook to somebody. I had a page where I had a few different images of actresses that I would have in mind for that lead role. Because sometimes people find that helpful as they're reading a script to have a visual reference of, oh, okay, you're thinking of somebody like this to play that part. And I found it kind of funny that when I showed my lookbook to somebody who's also a pretty established actress, she looked at the actresses that I had on that page and she was like, funny, they all kind of look like you. Like, do they? I don't think that they do. I was like, but maybe there's something there. So like help me out a little bit.
I imagine you just it's just all photos of you. You didn't even notice. You're like, what? That's me.
Well, I was looking to have somebody in that role who is not someone that you would necessarily picture as a pole dancer, that comes from a like waspy, well-educated background type of thing.
And was that ever a thought of yours to do the Spike Lee route of like, let me just cast myself and get this going?
Oh, no. Okay. No. Narane's husband, Joe, joked at one point pretty early on that he was like, that you're going to end up playing the lead role. And I was like, oh, God, no. I don't have any business playing the lead. We need to get a real actress in here.
I mean, look, you might be able to do double duty. You did start out wanting to be an actress. You moved into directing. Maybe this is like coming full circle, right back around.
I think unless you're Laurence Olivier or Orson Welles, I don't know. I would advise most people not to act in and direct, especially their first film. But I think even I was just talking to somebody the other night about a pretty big movie star that she just directed her first film, and somebody who's seen the movie was telling me that they were like, oh, apparently she needs to have good direction because she's terrible in her own movie. So I think it's tough to act and direct something at the same time. No thanks.
I'm trying to think who you could be talking about, but I can't think of who it might be. It's probably...
Well, people can speculate. They can take their guesses.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's probably one of my boos, too. It's probably somebody I really like, but I wouldn't see their directing. I wouldn't think.
I'll tell you later.
Look, I mean, I don't mind saying that. I have somebody in mind, but I don't know if her movie has come out already, but maybe they just saw it early. But whatever.
I will say it's not a movie that's come out. It's just been on the festival circuit.
Gotcha.
And
okay.
it actually is an actress who I had in my lookbook as if I could cast anyone, I would want to cast this actress.
You do favor each other, so I guess I do. You did just put photos of yourself in this lookbook, didn't you? You just put...
I did not.
Multiple photos of yourself. But yeah, so we're at about 30 minutes now, so I think we can go ahead and wrap this up. But thank you for coming on to the show.
Sure. Is there anything else that you wanted me to say?
No, I mean, you made it seem like you were at gunpoint. Like, is there anything else that I need to say right now?
No, I'm just, want to make sure that you're getting what you need.
Oh, no, I'm good. But you can give everybody...
As a director, you want to make sure that, you're getting all of the necessary pieces.
That is very true. But you can give everyone, if you want to give your social media or if you want to give any link to paying for it or how people can see that, you can give that out now.
Yeah, you can check out Paying for It on iTunes. Just type it into iTunes and it'll pop on up. And I am on Twitter. What's my... Wait, you might have to re-edit this. What is my Twitter? I think I'm Lauren A. Lillie, but I should double check that I'm actually telling people the right thing.
So you're not even on Twitter that much then is what you're saying?
What I'm saying is I'm not on Twitter that much, but I am at Lauren A. Lillie on Twitter. And because I'm not on it very much, if you want to reach out and connect with me, it'll be great. I will respond.
Well, we don't know now because you're never on it. So will they respond? But anyway, guys, we'll be right back. And thanks again, Lauren.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Tom Fondle.